Hey, fellow comic book fans, and welcome to the Weekly Pull podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Chipman, and with me today is Dave Robbins
Hello, friends.
and Ben Peterson.
Hello, all.
It is January 31st, and it is New Comic Book Day. All right, Ben, what do we have to talk about?
Well, number one, I would say, is Silencer number one, part of the new DC New Age of Heroes bit, and it's from Dan Abbott and John Romita Jr. So this one was a good one, a good start, I thought. Kind of a shoot 'em up kind of comic. I thought it was pretty good. What do you guys think about it?
Well, anytime you got a mom loading groceries in the supermarket parking lot and she's attacked by vestigial organics in a biomodded combat chassis, I'm kind of into that. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed kind of the fish out of water thing, the kind of you can't escape your past type of thing. Reminding me of the quote from The Godfather, just when you think you're out of it, they pull you back in. So I mean, it's not like it's that original, but I thought it was pretty entertaining, and overall it lays down a good grounding for something that can be pretty exciting, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys liked it a little bit better than I did. Um, I was definitely more impressed by Damage number one, the first book that came out from the New Age of Heroes initiative. Um, the Silencer number one was definitely packed with a decent amount of action. Like you said, Dave, the whole fight in a grocery store parking lot, pretty cool. For me though, I don't really get it yet. I don't see what the big deal is with the Silencer's powers. It's just not working for me. But I think that there is potential for it to end up being, at the very least, a very entertaining book. That'll keep readers coming back.
You're very right. It will be entertaining. I could see how it is kind of just rehashing kind of an old, like, as you kind of say, like mafia gang war kind of thing, where it's like this side versus this side, um, with the young people or new people trying to supplant the old war horses, as it were. But no, I thought it was pretty good. For me, I actually thought her abilities were kind of cool, um, and just the whole, like, being rusty with everything kind of was a good start to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the entire range of her abilities yet either. You know, she's like this super assassin, so
Mm-hmm.
the silencer is, like, the rogue abilities,
Yeah.
and I think those kinds of things just haven't been shown to us yet. So, yeah, if you're a little behind the curve in terms of, not getting what it is that she does, yeah, it may just be in time we find out what it is, and it may have been a flaw in the first issue, especially since she's a completely new character, that they should have established those kind of parameters a little bit more clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. I you know what I did really like though? The opening page of the book. Her there, haircut short, telling her kid to look away, while she's, got the gun, she's leaning across the table. Like that was a pretty cool way to start out a comic book.
Yeah,
I
and the
was
kid's holding a Superman like doll.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that, these new age of heroes, they do exist, within the DC universe.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any sort of, other timeline thing going on.
No, I think there's a little bit of a hint in Damage too.
Yeah.
I can't remember from week to week,
Suicide
but
Squad.
Yeah. Yeah. It
yeah,
ends
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
that was it.
Suicide Squad there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's how it should be. Um, because, I know when we had talked about Damage, I brought up how, it was interesting to have Damage in a world, a new character in a world with characters and heroes and villains that we're already familiar with and just seeing how they interact. So I think part of the success or failure of this new age of heroes is going to be how these new heroes wind up interacting with all the characters that we've come to know and love.
Right.
I agree with you. That it's exciting to have that potential of having some crossovers and having some, as you say, interactions with them. But it's all kind, as you say, could fail if they don't do it right.
Yeah.
So it's exciting, even though it's a little, nervous to see if they get it right.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, even though I didn't, like I said, I don't really get it. It doesn't really work for me. I think I would still recommend the book. Would you guys both recommend picking this one up, or?
I would, especially now since it's the first book. Like getting into the story arc wouldn't be too hard, I would think. So yes.
Yeah.
I'm just for the general concept of DC trying to do something new. Yeah, they're not resting on their laurels. They're taking a little bit of chances, and they're coming up with somebody that it's it's a yeah, I think it's a worthy endeavor.
Yeah.
And it's not. Although the story is kind of a trope, it's not hung on to being so familiar. Like everybody was comparing Damage to the Hulk. I can't really
Yeah.
compare the Silencer that closely to a particular character that's appeared before,
No.
although the story is kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's at a point where it's there's a sort of comfort in that familiarity. I I mean, I'm assuming that that's what Abnett and Ramita are going for. Let's introduce a new character, but not do it in a way that's shocking. Let's give readers something that they are familiar with, something that's easy to swallow, and then once we have everybody hooked, we take it off. We take off from there.
Yeah.
So, overall, like I said, I would recommend it. So it's again, like you brought up, Dave. I do applaud DC in this initiative, in bringing something new to the table. Not necessarily reserving new ideas for Vertigo.
Right.
I'll give them props for that. You don't see that every day. I'm glad to read that when there's a new initiative in comics, that it's not just renumbering them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or here's a new timeline or whatever. So yeah, definitely give it up to DC for that one. But all right, guys, why don't we get on to our picks of the week? Dave, you want to go first?
Sure. Speaking of DC Vertigo, I read one called Motherlands, which is a Simon Spurrier, Rachel Stott work. This is issue number 1. And it's in like this multiverse kind of thing where bounty hunters are chasing from one string to another. And it turns out our main character, Tabitha Turbach, is the daughter of a famous reality TV bounty hunter.
Nice.
Who's now long retired. And it's kind of crazy, a little bit bawdy, a little bit sexy, but not too much. I think they're playing it for laughs a lot of times. The artwork is a little bit lurid, but I think that's they're deliberately trying to be a little bit trashy with this because it's poking fun at reality game shows and futuristic type things. There are family issues. There are exotic locales. It's not one that I would say we're going to take super seriously.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be kind of funny. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think there'll be a laugh in it, and there's a decent amount of action, and there's going to be some some intrigue in terms of various factions vying for the bounty hunter prize. So I was pretty happy with it.
Good.
Definitely recommend it for somebody who wants to try something a little bit lighter. Um, yeah, fun. I wouldn't get, this isn't like great art,
Okay.
or great literature,
Hmm.
but it's got to be good fun,
Yeah.
and I think if that's what you're looking for, just go for it.
Yeah. I saw this. I wound up reading it as well, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the deliberately trashy.
Yeah.
Um, I was very much entertained by the book. I thought it was outlandish, interesting. It was fresh. So yeah, I think that's a great pick. Absolutely great pick. What about you, Ben? What are you picking this week?
This week I read the Flash annual one. Um, I thought that was a good one. I was very actually happy with it. Not always keeping track of all the Flash shenanigans that are going on. This was a good one that you could easily just pick up without knowing everything. Um, Read and enjoy. They did a great job with both the artwork. It was like that classic, superhero, especially the Flash artwork that I really enjoyed, as well as just a good storyline to it. Also, if you were more into the Flash and paying attention, it kind of sets up for the next couple of them coming up here. So that was a really good choice on their part. I would definitely recommend, picking this up if
Good.
you're, into the Flash at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I was flipping through it as well, and the reason I wound up reading it is because I saw that it was the prelude to Flash War, and anytime there's a major DC event that has to deal with time travel and altering timelines, and you have to start from the beginning.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
So the fact that the Flash Annual #1 is a prelude to this large event, you know, this is where you got to start, folks. Like you said, especially if you're a fan of the Flash and you're going to read, read through this next arc. Yeah, I completely agree. You have to start at issue 1, or if we want to call this a 0 issue, a prelude to the upcoming arc or event, whatever it winds up being, whatever the scale of it is. Yeah, that's a great pick. And just like you said, classic superhero art all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely loved it. And so I guess that leaves me with my pick of the week. Shouldn't really come as a surprise if you've read any of my reviews on thebrazenbull.com, but my pick of the week is Dark Knight's Metal #5 from Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the best issue so far in the event. I did like some of the standalone issues, maybe a little bit more. But as far as the Dark Knight's Metal line, this issue is absolutely fantastic. At this point in the story, it seems like we are beyond the point of no return. All hope is gone. And Scott Snyder is really just driving that nail deeper and deeper into the coffin. And at times, it's almost painful to read and watch your heroes fail and have to deal with, just being unable to do what they do best for such a long period of time. Since Dark Knight's Metal started, issue #1, things started to take a turn for the worse, and the shit just kept piling on issue after issue. And now at this point, like I said, things are looking bleak, to say the least. And despite that, I can't get enough of it. Absolutely cannot get enough of it. Another aspect that I really, really liked about this issue, more so than the others, I think Greg Capullo's artwork is some of the best that he's done in a while. Scenes are just beautifully illustrated here. The book opens with this fantastic, scene of Barbados, atop of this, tower, very old school fantasy art inspired, dragons swirling around. And it's beautiful. Color work is beautiful. Everything about this book is absolutely fantastic. So this is one I can't recommend enough. And until the event's over, I'm probably going to be picking books from the Dark Knight's Metal series as my pick of the week. perchance. I don't know what Image or Valiant has in store for us. I'm hoping something tops Dark Knight's Metal, but I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to top. But yeah, anything else you guys want to bring up before we wrap this one up?
Nothing much this week that I caught on to. I don't know. What do we know what's coming up next week? Can we talk about that a little bit?
Let me take a look. Batman number 40, Super Friends Part 4 is coming up. That's going to be good. Superman number 40, rather, starts a new arc, Suicide Planet, which, I'm sure is going to be great. What else do we have here? New issue of The Walking Dead, New World Order, part number 2. If you guys have read part number 1, absolutely fantastic issue. Total cliffhanger ending. Totally loved it. Doesn't look like we have any number 1s coming out. Actually, we do. Swamp Thing Winter Special number 1. So,
Good old
I think
Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the one to look forward to, because nothing else is really standing out on the list. Yeah, Young Monsters in Love number 1. DC. Let's see. Image has looks like Versus number 1 coming out. I don't think I've read anything about Versus 1, so we'll check that out. See if that's worth talking about. I'm sure that's going to be. But yeah, Swamp Thing. Tom King writing Swamp Thing. I think it's going to be fantastic. We'll see. But all right, took a little look into the future there. Like I said, I'm sure we're going to be talking about Swamp Thing next week. But until then, this is the end of episode 1 of the Brazen Bulls Weekly Poll podcast. Again, I'm your host, Charlie Chipman, with Dave Robbins and Ben Peterson. And until next week, keep on reading, folks.